everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be doing the Harem episode of the side stories. Well, they're not really side stories, they're aftermath stories, really, kind of. Sort of. I guess they're more mid stories, really. Midquels. No, that's not what a midquel is. Middle stories, you know? After the first game, before the second game, as far as I'm aware. I actually haven't played this one before, so might be a bit of trial and error. If there is trial and error, I will cut it out of the video. So, you would only have seen that if you were a part of the stream. So again, another reason for you to try and check out my streams. But I've kept this going long enough. Let's get into the Harem episode. And of course, as always, I find it difficult to type my own name. What do you do when you live in a mansion with 5 extremely attractive men who were relentlessly stuck on your radar? Would you make a move on one of them? Which one? What if all 5 men were appealing to you in different ways to where you couldn't make up your mind? These were the hard questions I had to consider. It's true, I lived in a mansion with 5 drop-dead gorgeous men, and I was attracted to all of them. Not 1, not 2, all 5 of them! And they were brothers! Well, half-brothers. But they acted as close as blood could let them. But I wasn't someone who just dwelled on looks. Each boy had their own internal charm and joy that I found endearing and amazing to witness. There were so many reasons why the boys embedded themselves into my heart. I mean, it wasn't like they were making it easy not to fall for each of them individually anyway. James was the perfect image of a gentleman and a reliable partner. He led charge on taking care of the house and managed my grandfather's company as its CEO at the time. He was the definition of leadership and yet treated me as the true power of the house. Eric's masterful charm easily swayed me and kept me flustered and giddy with each compliment he showered me with. He was a fashion designer, but my imagination would run wild of thinking of him just in a towel. Or less. Still, behind his charming mask, I knew a sweet man was hiding away, eager to simply see me smile. The strongest man, Sam, was a surprise to me. While he was rough and tough on the outside, the more I got to know him, the sweeter and gentler he became. Not many would have believed how tender he was, but I was one of the lucky ones. My attraction for him increased when I saw him put on his policeman uniform for the first time. Then there was Matthew, a sweet and playful man. He somehow made me feel like a teenager again with how much he made me smile. Yet, despite his youthful behavior, he was much more mature than one would believe at first glance. But turn the corner and you have the most darling boy of the bunch, Damien. He's a practical image of being innocent and naive, but he can still stand on his own 2 feet as a man. He's extremely empathetic, but that could have been because of his mind-reading ability. 5 boys, 5 paths to take. And yet I stood at the crossroad not wanting to pick any. How could this have been? I needed to make a choice eventually, right? Right? I sat in my bed one morning contemplating my own indecision on the matter. Every social construct I knew of humanity and morality screamed for me to make a choice on who to truly fall for. I followed this idea for the longest time. Yet, I felt doubt on this social construct. Maybe, well, I found myself adoring each boy for their own unique reasons. To choose between them seemed an impossible idea. What if I just figured out my personal type of guy? Was I more into gentleman or laid-back personalities? Did I want an older acting partner or a younger acting one? Someone who would play rough or be gentle? I liked all of them equally. I was pretty open in terms of romance. Not that I wasn't picky by any means, but I wasn't one to ever judge or favoritize anyone based on who they were or how they acted. If I liked them, I liked them. Period. There was no reason to hate one in order to focus on loving another. That was idiotic. I liked all of the boys, and it was illogical for me to try and divide each one to figuring out if one was my soulmate or not. Did I have to? Did I want to? I was still questioning myself and learning my heart slowly and surely. What if my heart... I shook my head and sighed. Unable to answer my own thoughts on the matter, this was ridiculous. Even if I couldn't figure it out now, there seemed to be no rush on the matter. The boys were happy to live with me regardless. Yeah, everything was fine for now. I stretched my arms above my head and let out a yawn, finally ready to get out of bed and prepare for the day. After all, whether or not I was in a relationship, I still had to live my daily life. And thus my day began. After getting dressed and walking down to the dining room, I was once again greeted by a plate covered with a silver lid dome. I could only smile. The boys always made breakfast for me each morning before going out to work. Since I was a college student taking online classes, I got to stay home in my comfy clothes. It was a perk to get freshly made breakfast every morning. I sat down to eat and was greeted by the shine of the silver plate cover hiding my morning meal. Lifting the cover, the smell of delicious food wafted into my nose and completely enveloped me in warmth. I couldn't deny myself from digging in. I took my time in digging in, using my phone to watch some videos on YouTube. Hey! We're on YouTube, and we're watching YouTube in-game! Hey! Sorry. However, as I browsed through the lists, a live stream caught my attention. Hey! We're live streaming too! Double fourth wall break! Sorry. No way. I clicked on the video to let it load and play live, watching as a pretty interviewer sat in a comfy chair across from one of the incubi in mid-interview.
Are you sure you can't spill any special secrets waiting for us from Anderson Toys? I'm sure kids all around the world are dying to know what is the next toy line to be excited for.
I've said all I can say about our future endeavors.
All right. Still, I'm sure there's one thing you could answer. Our viewers are dying to know more about you.
And what would that be?
Is there anyone who has, caught your eye, per se? A special someone?
I stared at my phone in awe at the blunt question. Did this host seriously just ask if James was interested in someone on a live platform in such a manner? He was a CEO. He was above such questions, wasn't he?
I mean, come on! You're currently the owner of a Fortune 500 company, listed as #1 on the Forbes 30 Under 30 list, and are in the running to be the next sexiest man alive. We gotta know!
I rolled my eyes and continued to eat, tempted to change videos to watch something less demeaning. Before I could, though, I was stunned by James's reply.
Well, I mean, there is someone whom I've been interested in for a while.
Wait, what?
Ooh, really? Can we know a little more about this mysterious lucky person?
Well, they are quite magnificent in their own right. They're generous, kind, and yet they know how to hold their own when things get tough.
Sounds like a wonderful person. I felt a little upset. James had really found someone to like? Maybe it was a wonderful CEO of another company he met during a business trip. Maybe it was a coworker. It was fair game. I couldn't deny the ping of sadness at the idea, but he wasn't something to possess no matter how much I adored him. It wasn't fair to just claim him. The same was said for me if he had ever wanted me as his. I still adored his brothers in the same value. It took me a moment to recognize my thoughts on the matter. Claiming seemed wrong, but sharing...
However, it will be up to them whether or not our relationship goes forward.
Ooh, what does that mean?
Well, I'm not the only one who favors them. Let's go with that.
So someone who's popular, huh? That could have been any celebrity alive. Any majorly influential person who was in James's circle was on the list of potential interests. I had to be happy for him. While I expected to be fully upset at the idea, I seemed to lean more towards understanding? Self-acknowledgement?
They must be very lucky to be so well liked.
Indeed. We care for them very much.
Now, hold on. You said we. Does that mean you know your romantic rivals personally? Like, are they your friends?
Well,
My phone was stopped by a phone call, pausing my content to show Sam's number on my phone screen. I took in a breath, still slightly scattered about James's interview, before answering. Sam?
Hey, doofus. Got a preference for dinner?
Not really. I just started eating breakfast. Aren't you supposed to be at work? I suddenly heard shuffling on the other end, confusing me even further.
Hey, was breakfast good? Damien and I worked really hard on it. Hey, give me back the phone, runt! Pause off!
I'd like to know if it was good.
Matthew? Damien? Aren't you guys supposed to be at work? All of you?
Oh, well, all of us took the day off. Well, except for an interview James had on some YouTube channel or something. Anyway, we're all home today, so we figured let's have an epic dinner.
Oh, that's a really nice idea.
Yes, it is. We're at the store now, so we wanted to ask for your input before we bought anything.
Aw, that's sweet. Thank you. I was back to relaxing at the idea of having a grand dinner with the boys. It had been a while since we all sat together to eat, as each of us had very different schedules. It was to be expected, of course, given the wide range of jobs the boys had. I let them know my preferences and couldn't help but be excited for the night ahead. All 5 boys for one night seemed really nice.
Sounds good. Be back home soon.
I hung up and smiled, but my smile quickly faded as the live video came back up at a shocking revelation.
Well, I hope for the best for you, Mr. Anderson. You and your brothers are fine gentlemen, and the lucky suitor will have a hard time picking who to be with, am I right?
Wait, James and his brothers? All of them? They all seriously liked the same person? A feeling of confusion washed over me. I knew logically that I probably had just as much of a chance against whoever they all had feelings for, but I barely saw them except for when they each come back home or had a day off. Who could have gotten their attention? Totally not wearing one of Sam's dog tags right now. Sorry. It wasn't a matter of dominance, but a matter of curiosity. However, a small ping of doubt flickered in my mind. While I was probably someone close to all of them, what was I compared to the being they did fawn for? The hair on the back of my neck rose at the thought of another demon potentially seducing them. It wouldn't have been a surprise, being that demons did roam the world, and incubi and succubi were the most common breed. A demon attracting them? What of another powerful human that hooked them to their charm? I felt bittersweet, almost sad at imagining such a person. I was close to the boys, but just because I was close didn't give me privilege over their affections. If someone else wet their plates, then it wasn't on me to change their minds. I felt hopeless for the rest of the day, hiding away in my room to study in isolation until dinner. I had gotten a majority of my studies and projects done within the span of the day, before hearing a knock at my bedroom door. Who is it? Like it mattered.
Eric, Your Highness.
I smiled out of a habit for the nickname. It was sweet to be held in such a regard and have such a title given to me. Come in. The door opened to indeed reveal Eric with his charming smile. I turned from my desk and smiled back in kind, guessing as to why he came to my room. What's up, Eric?
Dinner's almost ready, Your Highness. The others are cooking and setting the table, so I took it upon myself to inform you.
Thank you, Eric. I appreciate it. I stood from my seat, feeling hunger finally hit my stomach, and began to walk out of my room with Eric a step behind.
May I ask you something, Your Highness?
Of course. What is it?
Is there something bothering you?
I stopped and turned to look at Eric in surprise. What brought that question? What do you mean?
Well, you've been in your room most of the day. We were concerned, but we didn't wish to disturb you if you were working on something important.
Eric held out a hand to me, offering it both in a literal and a metaphorical sense. Should I tell him? I trusted him as much as the rest of the incubi. But did he really have to know? I still didn't even know what I was feeling. It was something I had to figure out on my own. I was strong enough and smart enough to eventually do that over time. I wanted something outside the norm. And yet, was I ready to attempt? Was I in a place to try? That was something I had to figure out eventually. It's nothing, really. Just something I have to deal with, that's all. Still, I took his hand and gave it a small squeeze to reassure him. I'm all right, really. Thank you, though, for your concern. Eric stared at me with a soft, worried expression, but nodded nonetheless. He brought up my hand and kissed over my knuckles in respect before releasing it with a nod.
Very well, Your Highness. To dinner?
I nodded in return, and off we went to the dining hall for dinner. I was greeted by amazing smells and the smiles of the rest of the incubi. The table was set, full of delicious food to eat, which made my empty stomach grumble loudly. Oh,
Someone's hungry. I feel you, though. Cooking all this was torture on an empty belly.
It's all amazing, though. I can't wait to eat.
I had to agree. I sat down, guided to be the head of the table by Eric, and watched as the boys finished setting the table and sat down one by one.
Oh, finally! Ooh, dinner looks good, Matthew.
Thanks. James and Damien helped out a lot.
It was a successful group effort, but let's not keep our stomachs waiting. Shall we?
The boys looked to me as if they wanted me to give the okay to start eating. Why me? Regardless, I grabbed my plate and began to fill it with food stationed in front of me, giving the physical okay to start. Let's eat! At that moment, we each began to pass around and fill our plates with food before digging straight in. I savored every bite and mentally drowned myself in the joy rushing through my body. The boys were excellent cooks. I mentally noted to one day ask for the recipes of the dishes I really enjoyed. But then I stopped my thoughts. Why would I need to ask them for the recipes if they were going to be here to cook them? I mean, it was good to learn them, but to imagine asking for their recipes gave me a cold reminder that they couldn't stay here forever. They had to move on with their lives one day. It wasn't fair to keep them cooped up here for the rest of their lives. Besides, it was no good to stick around here if they found romance outside of the mansion walls. I suddenly slipped into a depressive state, slowing my eating to a snail-like pace as the boys chatted amongst themselves.
Huh? Hey.
Oh, he knows what I'm thinking! Oh no! Oh, Matthew knows something's up. I stared into my plate, trying not to get even more upset at my own heart. I had feelings for all of the boys, yet I couldn't be selfish and keep them all. It wasn't fair to them.
Hello?
I focused on chewing my food, trying to block out my mind screaming at me to make a choice or just swallow the fact that I couldn't have the boys. They all apparently wanted someone else.
Doofus!
I was snapped out of my thoughts, suddenly dropping my fork onto my plate and shooting my head up to see all 5 boys staring at me in concern. Shit. Oh, hi. What's up?
Is everything all right? Is the food not to your liking?
We can make you something else if you want.
Please, tell us.
They each seemed to stare at me in adoring care. Was it because they truly did care, or was it out of the continued debt they apparently owed me for saving them? My mind began to doubt itself, despite the answer being clear. I didn't know how to think. I didn't know what to think. My mouth decided to act on its own. Who do you all like? Fuck. Yep. Yep. That was the perfect reaction. I suddenly covered my mouth in horror at what I'd let slip. James's interview bothered me. My own heart bothered me. I needed closure of some kind to stop myself from doubting and second-guessing my own sanity and morality. The boy stayed wide-eyed at me in surprise, stunned probably at my question. They didn't have to answer. I wasn't their warden or parent, I knew this. James, however, cleared his throat, taking the attention and cutting through the awkward silence.
May I ask what brought this on?
I grimaced and slumped into my chair, ashamed of bringing the subject up. I saw your interview today, James. The host grilled you about the person you like, and well, since apparently the host thought you all liked the same person, I guess I was curious. The boys looked to James, then they all switched their gazes amongst each other, nervously, before squirming in their seats in discomfort. Damn it. Sorry, it's nothing, really. I'll just...
No, Highness. I believe it's fair you should know.
Huh? I stared at Eric as he ran a hand through his hair and stared down at his brothers with a serious gaze.
We are all indeed infatuated by the same person. It's rather peculiar, as we had assumed all of us would have different tastes.
Yeah. It's kind of awkward. But it's kind of unavoidable at this point. After all, we may be different, but our feelings are pretty close to the same.
It's been difficult. Sam and James almost got into a fight about it.
Really? Oh no!
He started it! I didn't, for once!
Still, it's been rather hard for all of us to come together about it. At least, until now.
Until now? What do you mean? Silence claimed the air again, still from the awkward topic and unsure feelings I was having. Sam growled and stood up, looking over his brothers with almost a snarl before looking at me.
Fuck all of you then. Look, enough with the silence. We all like you, okay?
What?
Sam, come on! We had a plan!
It's already screwed up, Matthew! Besides, look. It's obviously been bothering them for a while. Why delay it?
Highness, was this what bothered you?
My mind wasn't listening. I was so focused on what Sam had proclaimed. They all liked me? My entire body went into overdrive. I was elated, confused, relieved, and in a panic all at once. All 5 boys liked me. Why me? They were willing to share loving me? I was open to having all of them? I became lost, leaning back against my chair in a stunned silence.
Hey, are you okay?
Each brother quickly stood from their spot and rushed over to surround me, checking my temperature and pulse in worry. I was too lost in my own thoughts to fight back or react.
And this is why we go with the plan, Sam.
Oh, fuck off, you weren't helping. This whole thing was delaying the inevitable.
Are you okay? Talk to us.
You all really like me? The boys had moved my chair to the side so they could all face me from the front. Each of them stared at me in slight relief of my reply, most likely to ensure that I was okay, before nodding collectively.
It's been a bit of an ordeal amongst us. After all, we were never fans of, well, sharing.
Oh well shit, we're fucked.
However, you've imprinted yourself into our lives so deeply, none of us could imagine ourselves without you.
So, we kind of agreed to ask you about it. I mean, if you knew who you wanted to be with, the rest of us could back off.
No! My interjection made the boys lean back in a bit of shock. I couldn't help it, but I was still unsure of which boy to pick if I wanted to pick at all. I loved all of them wholeheartedly and truly needed them in my life for my heart to feel complete. I didn't care about the social stigma and validity of shared love, even if it happened to be with 5 very attractive, intelligent, and adoring young men. I love all of you the same. I could tell I stunned the boys with my words. Still, my heart felt lighter in revealing my true feelings. I've thought about it day after day, and I still cannot find any true reason to stop loving any of you just for one of you. All of you are so wonderful, and each in your own special ways. The weight pulling down on my stomach and heart began to lift as I continued to spill my internal thoughts. Maybe we could work this out. Maybe we could slowly work towards a solution. We were all in the same position after all. I took in the sight of all of them looking amongst each other in contemplation and uncertainty. I couldn't find any other words to say and simply waited, hoping one of them would speak up. Finally, Damien smiled and took my hand before looking to his elder brothers.
I believe we can all work this out together.
Huh? James smiled back and nodded, crossing his arms.
Well, if your heart says you cannot choose one, and if none of us will back down, then I believe there is only one solution.
If it's as I hope, then I quite like this solution.
Eric lifted my other hand and kissed it with a grin of his own. I knew what the solution was, but it seemed like a fairy tale answer. Were they sure? Was it really okay? Sam walked around beside me and rustled my hair, smirking slightly.
Think you can handle all of us, doofus?
Wait, really?
Of course. I mean, I don't really see a problem as long as we stay open with each other.
I think all of us just want you to be happy, and we each want to be a part of that.
I felt tears well up in the corners of my eyes. This was truly happening. I whimpered a bit in joy before openly crying, causing each boy to comfort me with hands on my shoulders and arms. Matthew and Damien wiped away each falling tear from my cheeks as Eric and James rubbed and massaged my hands and forearms. Sam went from rustling to petting my head, soothing me in his own way. Elation and joy rumbled in my chest as I sat there, feeling lighter than air at last. I could be happy with all of the boys and they would all be happy with me. It was a tough road to travel on, but we would walk through it together. I smiled at each of the boys at last, feeling my sadness and nerves fade completely into happy contentment. I love all of you so much. We finished dinner with grins and laughs. The food was even more delicious with a smile on my face. The moment I finished, I excused myself to shower and dress for bed. It was getting late after all. I simply washed all of my previous doubts and worries away under the shower's rain. This was a whole new world for me. Being able to love and care for all 5 incubi without internally fighting about which is better. Each of them were different, and I loved them all the same. The evening had become my first night being fully in love with all 5 brothers, and knowing that they were all in love with me. I dressed for bed and practically skipped to my room, only to be surprised by the boys once again that night.
Surprise! Mind if we sleep in your room?
Whoa! Oh my god! That is an art style I did not expect and do not like. That is too much muscle. That is too much muscle. I'm sorry, I hate that. I actually hate that.
The bed's kinda small, you know.
Then I guess we'll have to invest in a bigger one, if that's all right, Highness.
That should be easy enough to arrange.
Ready for bed?
Fucking Christ. I hate this! I hate it! I hate it! I can't! I don't want to look at it! No, I'm not even kidding. I hate this. I actually hate this visual. I hate this. I hate this. I hate this so much. I'm covering it with my arms right now. I'm just looking at the text. My heart caught in my chest. All 5 boys were in my bed and were waiting to sleep with me. I could already imagine the warmth from cuddling with all of them through the night. However, only one thought ran through my mind. We definitely needed a bigger bed. Okay, oh my god, I hate that visual so much. Oh my god. Well, that was a journey. Yeah, I freaked out a lot during that, and none of you in the YouTube video will see it. Yeah, so if you guys want to see me freak out, you should probably check out the stream. 'Cause, you know, you'll actually get to see me freak out. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that video. We'll be going through more of the mid-stories, the spin-offs. We'll be doing all of them before we head on to playing Seduce Me 2 to continue Sam's route. The thing is though, as of recording, this episode will actually be in all of the routes, but I'm actually recording this while I'm doing Sam's route, so if you are watching this while looking through the playlist of one of the other boys' routes, then please don't worry about what I just said, just carry on with the playlist, and you'll carry on with whatever boy you're on, okay? So I hope you enjoyed, stay sharp, size your problems, and I will see you in the next video from the Silent Swordsman. Goodbye!